Today's flashback movie is a somewhat darker edition in the series, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. We're going to look a little at the background of the movie, what it's about, and who the stars were. As ever, if you like what you see, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, then you could even subscribe to the channel. That would be great if you could. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was released in May 1984 by Paramount Pictures, with a running time of just a touch under 2 hours. It was nominated for 2 Oscars in the Best Effects and Best Original Score categories, winning for Best Effects. The story was written by Willard Huyck, Gloria Katz and George Lucas, and the movie itself was directed by Steven Spielberg. Filming was done in Sri Lanka with a budget of $28 million, and it went on to gross close to $335 million worldwide. Nice little return, and not bad for a movie made in the mid-80s. In this glorious adventure sequel, intrepid archaeologist Indiana Jones is on the trail of fortune and glory in Old Shanghai, and is ricocheted into a dangerous adventure in India. With his faithful companion Short Round and nightclub singer Willie Scott, Indy goes in search of the magical Sankara stone, and uncovers an ancient evil which threatens all who come into contact with it. The Indiana Jones adventures tried to continue the wonderfully classic intentions of vintage comic books and the horror movies of yesteryear, which are well reflected in the creepy and spooky scenes about human sacrifices. The picture is directed with great style and high adventure, and driven along with enormous fair play in the stunning mounted action set pieces. Altogether, it's a stylishly put together movie that is well worth a watch.
Hold on to your potatoes!
We got company!
Anna, lady, we go for a ride!
Is he nuts?
He's no nuts. He's crazy!
The star of the show, of course, is Harrison Ford, playing the heroic Indiana Jones, who, as always, dons his trusty fedora and bullwhip before leaping into action to save humanity. Ford was born in Chicago, Illinois, back in 1942, but now lives on a sprawling ranch in Jackson, Wyoming with his third wife, Callista Flockhart. He's best known for this role as Indiana and also as Han Solo, but Ford was discovered by George Lucas while working as a $150 a week jobbing actor and carpenter, going on to appear in 1973's American Graffiti as a result. Since then he's amassed a personal fortune of around $300 million, and if I'd made that much money by his age, I would definitely think about retiring. But maybe when your hobby is collecting and flying aircraft, you need all the money you can get your hands on. Born Kathleen Sue Nail in Fort Worth, Texas in 1953, retired American actress Kate Capshaw played Willie Scott, the American nightclub singer working in Shanghai. In a nod to the Star Wars franchise, the nightclub was called Club Obi-Wan. Over 120 actresses auditioned for this role, and Spielberg wanted Willie to be a complete contrast to Marion Ravenwood from Raiders of the Lost Ark. After moving to New York City to pursue her dream of acting, Kate landed her first role on the soap opera The Edge of Night. After auditioning for a small role in A Little Sex, she was offered the role of the leading lady, and she followed this with a starring role in Dreamscape in 1984. Amongst her other most notable movies are Black Rain and Just Cause, but she retired from the acting game in the early 2000s. Kate was married to Robert Capshaw between 1976 and 1980, and they have a child together. In 1981 she married Steven Spielberg, who she met on the set of the movie, and they have 5 children. Indian actor Amrish Puri was born in Nawanshah in 1932 and played the terrifying Mola Ram, a Thuggee priest who performed rites of human sacrifices. Puri was an important figure in Hindu cinema, and although he is well known to Western audiences for this role, Indian audiences best remember him for his role as Mogambo in Shekhar Kapoor's 1987 Hindi film Mr. India. Of the more than 450 movies Puri has acted in, he is best known for his work in Bollywood, but he did appear as Khan in the 1982 movie Gandhi. Unfortunately, Puri suffered from a rare kind of blood cancer, and he died in Mumbai, India in 2005 after brain surgery. He had been married to Urmila Divakar since 1957, and they had 2 children together. Roshan Seth, OBE, is a British Indian actor, writer and theatre director who was born in Patna, India in 1942 and played the role of the Prime Minister of the Maharaja of Pankot, Chatalal. Seth has worked in the United Kingdom, United States and India, beginning his acting career in the early 60s in the UK, but left acting the following decade and moved to India to work as a journalist. In the early 80s he returned to acting for an appearance in Richard Attenborough's Gandhi. He followed that up with roles in A Passage to India, My Beautiful Laundrette and Street Fighter. More recently, Seth has appeared in the TV shows Indian Summers and Beecham House. He was married to author Pepita Seth, but they separated in the late 1980s and divorced in 2004. Phillip Stone was born in Leeds, England in 1924 and played the British Indian Army captain, Blumbert, who assists Indy in fighting off Thuggee reinforcements. The other big movies that Stone was known for were the likes of Thunderball, Where Eagles Dare, Flash Gordon and The Shining. On the small screen he's appeared in the UK on A Touch of Frost, Heartbeat, Bergerac and Coronation Street. Stone was married to Margaret Pickford from 1953 until her death in 1984. He passed away himself in 2003 after suffering a heart attack at the age of 79. Born in Saigon, Vietnam in 1971, Jonathan Luke K. Hu Kwan is an actor and stunt choreographer and played Indy's 11-year-old Chinese sidekick, Short Round. Hoi Kwan came to the United States as a refugee when his family was selected for political asylum after the Army of the Republic of Vietnam was defeated during the fall of Saigon. He quickly followed up his role as Short Round by starring as the young inventor Richard Data Wang in the hit movie The Goonies. Unfortunately, it seems that opportunities on the American screens were in short supply for Hu Kwan in the early 90s, but he did star as Sam in the TV shows Nothing Is Easy and as Jasper Kwong in Head of the Class. It seems that since then he has turned his hand to stunts and choreography, but there are new works in the pipeline, with Finding O'Hara and an upcoming sci-fi movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Hong Kong-based Chinese actor Roy Chow was born in Shanghai in 1927 and played Shanghai crime boss Lao Che, who hired Indy to recover the cremated ashes of one of his ancestors. Chow joined the United States Army at some stage, and because he was fluent in Mandarin, Cantonese, Shanghaianese and English, he worked for them as a broadcaster and interpreter during the Korean War. Having married Lu Yenping when he was in his 20s, Chow immigrated with her to Seattle in 1964 and went on to appear in English-speaking movies such as Enter the Dragon, Game of Death and 1988's Bloodsports with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Roy died of heart disease in Seattle in 1999. He had suffered 3 previous heart attacks before that. British character actor Rick Young was born in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in 1944 as Wing Wai Young and played Cao Can, the son of Shanghai crime boss Lao Che. Having moved to the UK in 1958, Young appeared in a number of British TV shows during the 60s and 70s, including The Avengers, Blake 7 and The Tomorrow People. But his movie roles are what he's best remembered for, having starred in 7 Years in Tibet, The Transporter and as Mao Tse-tung in Nixon. Recent opportunities have been nothing on the ground, but Young has made guest appearances in both the 1976 and 2010 versions of Hawaii Five-0. He's currently teaching acting alongside his other projects. David Yip was born in Liverpool, England in 1951 and played Indy's friend Wu Han, who is killed in Club Obi-Wan. His father was a Chinese seaman from Canton and his mother a native of Liverpool. In the UK, Yip is best known for playing the lead role of John Ho in the TV drama The Chinese Detective, and he also played Michael Choi in the soap opera Brookside from 1989 to 1990. Other movie roles include Chuck Lee in A View to a Kill and the Chief of Police in Entrapment. Most of Yip's work recently has been restricted to small supporting roles, but he did appear as Hong Mankyo in the TV show Fortitude in 2017. A practicing Buddhist, Yip now lives in North Oxfordshire with his third wife, Virginia Owen, whom he married in 1999. Raj Singh was born in 1975 and played the little Maharaja, Zalim Singh. Despite playing this role, Singh hasn't acted in any other English-speaking movies and has only performed in a handful of Hindi movies. He appears to have retired from acting altogether in the early 90s and now lives in Chicago, working as an air traffic control coordinator for United Airlines. D.R. Nanayakara was born in 1915 in Kolanawa, Sri Lanka. The DR stands for Don Ruta, and played the shaman leader of a small village that recruits Indy to retrieve their stolen sacred Shiva Lingam stone. Most of Nanayakara's success came in his homeland of Sri Lanka, and his only other English-speaking movie credit was as the exorcist in A Village in the Jungle. Nanayakara was married to fellow actress Adeline Pereira from 1945 until she died in 1983, and they had 6 children together. He himself died of tuberculosis caused by AIDS in 1989. He'd been HIV positive for 12 months. Now, I'm making no apologies for only showing him in the movie, for 2 reasons. There are no other pictures of him around, and he was already old when he made his appearance, and he died 5 years later. Francis Patrick Roach was born in Birmingham in 1937 and plays the chief Thuggee guard in the mine who fights with Jones before being killed in a rock crusher. Possibly due to his immense size, Roach stood 6'5" with huge shoulders and a barrel of a chest. As well as a career in acting, he was also a professional wrestler, going under the name of Bomber Pat Roach, and he held both the British and European heavyweight championships at one time. Having made his acting debut as the red-bearded bouncer in the Korova Milk Bar in Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, Roach went on to appear in the likes of Red Sonja, Conan the Destroyer, and Willow, as well as the Indiana Jones movies. He married Doreen Harris in 1957, and they had 2 children together, but he sadly died of cancer in 2004. Movie legend Daniel Edward Aykroyd was born in Ottawa, Canada in 1952 and has a small cameo as Weber, the British Army officer who arranges a plane for the main trio to escape on. Aykroyd was briefly engaged to actress Carrie Fisher, but it ended when she reconciled with her former boyfriend, musician Paul Simon. Now, most people know that Aykroyd hit the big time in the Blues Brothers with his longtime friend John Belushi, but they were actually both cast members on Saturday Night Live before that. In addition to the Ghostbusters movies, Aykroyd has also starred in Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, Dragnet, and Driving Miss Daisy. Most recently, he has been narrating on the TV show Hotel Paranormal. In 1983, he married actress Donna Dixon, and they have 3 daughters together. He maintains his Canadian roots as a long-time resident of Sydenham, Ontario, with his estate on Loughborough Lake.